what are these 6 plans so that us lay folks can read it and see what they are. There's a Jackson Park Management Plan, there's a Downtown Transportation Hub and Route Review, Citywide Traffic Operations Review, Signal System Update Study, Cycling Network Study, and Transportation Master Plan overseeing it all. And what we heard from, again, going back to our last week's guest, was this was just a way to get the Parkway back in, and as soon as the government changed, which he predicted the mayor was going to get his way and get the Parkway.
The Parkway is not out. The Parkway is not out.
I wish
and
it
whatever
was.
happened, well, you may wish it was out.
The bridge, the bridge. What about?
Well, the bridge is still, as I understand, part of it, and I've not looked hard at the Parkway now for 10 years. Certainly my position at the time, not one shared by Jim's paper, or Jim, was that the bridge was essential to the complete operation of that route. Now the route has been fiddled with and messed up, over the years with traffic lights and all sorts of things that weren't there to begin with. My position is a very simplistic one, and a lot of people yell and scream and disagree, probably all of council, is they should get on with the environmental assessment and see whether or not it can be built. Yeah. And then go from there.
I sometimes disagree with the former mayor,
Yeah, you do
my
often.
leader on the council, and on the Parkway is one issue.
Yeah.
I'm opposed to the building of the Parkway at this point. It's too expensive, and I think it won't necessarily solve the problems that there were. And but interestingly enough, in my view, if council had taken out the bridge, it probably would have passed.
Well, we won't go into debating the Parkway, I hope, because if you take out the bridge, there's all sorts of other things that you're paying the penalty. Be careful what you ask for. But
well, there was an interesting in the city staff report that went to that council meeting a few weeks ago where it was supposed to be dealt with. There was an interesting. They talked about the 6 studies. They also said, we think that, and they said this before, that the decision out of the province not to allow us to go ahead and require a new environmental assessment was political, not factual. It was made for political reasons, not for planning reasons. They also said, though, that because that happened, we think that no matter what we do, if it has anything to do with the Parkway, the province is going to say
piecemealing.
You need piecemealing, and you need a complete. And so if we try to fix up the Clonsilla and Sherbrooke intersection, they're going to say that was once discussed as part of the Parkway route. Therefore, it has to be done as the entire, and you have to do the entire route environmental assessment just to do that. And they made it sound like we don't know this, but we're worried that if we do almost anything, they're going to require us to do a full EA on the Parkway route, which seems to me incredibly gun-shy and probably not likely to happen. But interesting, that was part of the rationale for not doing the Parkway, even though staff are in favor of it and think it's necessary.
Well, I think the 6 projects they put on cover practically everything. And I think that was a very good way of doing it.
We're going to be doing the study. Who knows what's going to come out of the 6?
Well, no, I don't. But Sylvie, you don't necessarily vote on what's necessarily coming out of 6 studies.
We have done studies for 7 years.
Yeah, but
6.
But I think most of these needed to be done. It probably would be done regardless.
I think I think the other thing that now, here we are, what is it, 50 years later,
70.
is the Parkway, the sort of future of public transport and car use is going to change.
Yeah.
Now, when it's going to change, I'm not sure, but it is obviously going to change.
It has changed over the years, Paul. The cars, there are more and more and more cars all the time. And if the Parkway had been built as it should have been built, the province would have funded 70% of it at one point. It's not going to get any cheaper as the years go by, and the traffic problems are not going to get any less.
I think, I would argue with some of those. I mean, if you say you could do the Parkway 30 years ago and it was cheaper, sure.
Who
can argue?
I don't say 30 years. What's the point?
Where are you on this?
Opinionated, controversial.
No, it is, but
And informed. Don't forget that on our crawl.
oh, is that what it is? Oh, really?
Well, there is that, isn't there?
We try.
I think it's an outmoded way of doing things now, the Parkway. And Jackson Park is such a diamond that we must leave
And
it
it's
alone.
not going to ruin Jack. Anyway, let's not go
Well, I
there.
do
wanna
I
ask-
spent 15 years arguing.
There was, well, what's another 15 seconds? So there was an argument that the bridge was taken out, and that's why council voted.
Bridge hasn't been taken out.
But there was an argument made on
I
Monday
know,
night that
yeah.
they thought the bridge, and even Henry
Yeah.
Clark said he wants some
Yeah.
clarification,
Yeah.
that the bridge, you know.
The bridge is still in the official plan.
It is.
And until they vote to remove it, it sits there, and the staff recommendation was leave it there because we don't know down the road what's going to happen, and because one of the 6 planning studies they're doing is to take a look at Jackson Park and the area around it, and there are actually 2 different locations for potential bridges that they want to look at. It seems, I mean, I guess what they're basically saying is maybe another council, which is what in 2003 was the referendum on the Parkway?
Yeah.
And the following, so that was November of 2003, because the municipal elections were in November then. And then in January, when you were the mayor, two different councillors made motions to take the official plan, or the Parkway, out of the official plan, and your response was, we don't have the mandate to build it now, but we may in the future, so it should stay in, and it did stay in.
If you recall, we proceeded in 90, when did I lose? 97? No, when did I lose? Anyway, the council, the last council I headed, we voted to proceed with an EA. And the first thing the council, Jack Doris, had was not to proceed with an
Yes,
EA.
that was-
It was hardly surprising, actually.
I think 2 other points on this, but first, the official plan review that is underway may well take the bridge out, may take the Parkway out. And as Mr. Humble is leading that, who is a new mind, he's not been burdened with this Parkway for 50 years, you might get a completely different point of view.
Mr. Humble, and I'm sure he will, he does do his job properly, will read all the studies on the Parkway.
And he may come to the
He
conclusion.
may, and
he may
he-
agree with you, but
Or
he may agree with me.
you. I don't know.
Yeah.
And at this point, I've got to the point where I don't care anymore.
Well,
Frankly.